Greetings, all greetings. We get right into it. Every generation, from the beginning of what we would call Adam, but those of you who know what Adam is, and notice I didn't say was, what Adam is, you will know that he faced challenges of keeping order in his household. Keeping order in his household from people, from external forces. I didn't say face. Present. He faced challenges from external forces. Keeping order in his household. Trying to teach his family how to live while somebody else is trying to get them to follow a different path. For 2,000 years, Africa has been experiencing the same issues. Wars with the Europeans. The Turks and the Turkish descendant people from the north of Africa, across the Mediterranean. The Greeks, the Italians, what you call the Romans, which you call the Italians today, all the way up to England, France, and Germany. They have always found a way into Africa because, like today's America, the rumors in America that I heard were the streets were paved with gold. And the same thing was in Africa. Africa was the standard by which the world was judged. The Europeans or people above the Mediterranean, they had lost all the knowledge of the past, but it remained in Africa. It remained in Africa, above the ground, I should say. It wasn't covered up. And the knowledge of it was written so you could learn about it. And there were people like in Egypt, Ethiopia, who had knowledge of the past, of events that were destructive. Anyway, today we got people who believe, like, they named the Generation Z, Generation X. Now they call them Generation A, and now you're having all kind of mixed up people that they want to call themselves cats and dogs. All kinds of descriptions. And they believe that they have unique issues that nobody on the planet has ever faced. How would they come to this conclusion? You ask them about history and they know nothing about history. They heard about a man called Martin Luther King, but that's all they know about him. And they will tell you those few who know, who will tell you about Martin Luther King, their extent of their knowledge that he gave black people freedom, he fought for freedom of black people. But, as I was saying about Africa, because when we talk about Africa, we only talk about Africa, not Africans across the planet. But the European sees us as Africa, no matter where we are. And we've always had another problem besides being the target of their target, coming to get what Africa has. Finally, well, it started with the Crusades. They came for what the Bible, what people today term Jerusalem. And if you notice, they didn't call it Israel, now call it Jerusalem. Judea, which is the Roman name for one, just what we could call one village. Then, in the passage of time, that crusade spread into Africa proper, with the Portuguese giving the Pope some African men given to him by the traditional chiefs and kings in Africa. That was the beginning of today's problem. When I say today's problem, slavery has always been a thing. And African leaders have always sold other African men into slavery. You can go back to Rome. How do you think black Africans got into Rome? As gladiators and into Greece. But the foundation that built America was their black slaves. Capitalism cannot survive without slavery. And if you don't believe me, look at what's happening today. You wake up in the morning, go to work, end of the week or a month when you get paid, how much of your money is spent? At the end of the year, how much money do you have from the money that you made working? In the beginning, the slaves were paid in old clothes from the master thrown away, that the master threw away, he didn't want any more. And the worst food that today, the children of the former slaves now consider the worst food that used to be eaten by the slaves as gourmet food. But let's move on. You have nothing. You have to, the money that you make now, you have to spend on the clothes that you wear to work, your car or other transportation to work, the food that you have to eat. and the taxes on everything that you buy still enslaved. And we find today that some people are making more than they spend. But that's always been the case. There always been a certain number, a certain percentage of the population who would be considered the middle class. In the old days, those middle class people will be military. They fought for the country, to conquer whatever country that the king sent up wanted to conquer. These are things that we need to know so that we can see clearly what is necessary to overcome these issues. Africa has been going through this for thousands of years, but the leaders have not changed. The leadership is passed on, and they continue to do the same thing day after day, year after year. 100 years down the road, they're still doing the same thing. And when you ask them why they're doing it, this is our tradition. Is it right or wrong? It's our tradition. Now in America, the Africans that were bred in the Americas and Europe, those traditions are gone, wiped out from their mind. But in the place of those traditions, new traditions were put in there, and they're not things that were a better replacement for what they lost, because whereas in the past it was a tradition to take care of your family. Man took care of his family. No matter what, that man will give his life for his family. Today, that tradition is gone. The man is no longer considered valued, even though women are still having sons. You have a son and a daughter, and the slave master is telling you should. The slave master is telling you that you should look after your daughter's interests. And that's what's happening. The interests of the women have been substituted. That's not a bad thing, because we both have a role to play in maintaining a society, cohesive society. But as you can see, there is no cohesiveness in the society that is being given to us. All around you can see it's falling apart. But people are still holding on to it. Imagine the Titanic going down and the lifeboats are in the water and nobody's going for the lifeboats. People would rather hold on to the Titanic. That's the process that we face today. And Africans are holding on to things that are being washed away, of no value. We are approaching the crossroads. Other people on the planet are seeing that this is coming and preparing, but Africans are not. We prefer to argue and fight with each other than to sit down and come up with a plan that's going to get us out of the position that we're in. America is going to fight with Russia and China, even if it destroys the whole land, Europe and everywhere else. It's about maintaining power, and all powers do that. All powers have done that since the beginning of time. They feel that they're the only ones who can do things the right way, and the right way is their way. It's nothing new. But when you don't educate yourself about these things, this is the problem you face. Anyway, we're gonna continue with this Africa at the Crossroads and show you how the problems that we face are not new to us, but it's because of our leadership, our traditional leaders. And now in the Americas, it's the political class leader. The European has given him a little bit of power, and it's blinding him or her. And he too is willing to sacrifice the African, just like the traditional ruler in Africa has sacrificed his people. You see how we get to this foundation thing? Anyway, have a great day wherever you are. Peace.